Welcome to today's Explainer. We are going to demystify exactly how businesses navigate a chaotic, unpredictable world using strategic analytical frameworks. We live in an era where market conditions can literally turn upside down overnight. And relying on pure gut intuition, well, that just isn't going to cut it anymore. Today, we're unpacking the actual tools that top executives use to make sense of the noise and chart a profitable path forward. So, have you ever wondered how companies actually survive all this unpredictable chaos? Think of navigating business without an analytical framework, like driving in a foreign country without a map, without a GPS, and without even knowing the local language. You might accidentally stumble upon your destination, but let's be real, it's highly unlikely. You absolutely need a reliable system to survive and grow. You need a way to take in all that overwhelming information around you and filter it down into actionable insights. Okay, let's dive right into this by defining our core tool, situation analysis. In the broader context of strategic management, this is the foundational step before any actual strategy is even formulated. Think of it kind of like a massive matching game, powered by specific analytical frameworks. It acts as your compass for matching your company's internal capabilities with outside market opportunities. Because simply put, you cannot decide where you're going until you take a hard, realistic look at exactly where you are right now. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll cover the foundations of strategy, the analytical framework toolkit, internal and external scanning, a deep dive into SWOT analysis, implementing the strategy, and finally, a look at real-world success with Walmart. Section 1, Foundations of Strategy. Let's start with the broad universe of strategic management and why it fundamentally matters to an organization's survival. As you can see, strategy isn't just guesswork. It's a systematic, long-term investment. Strategic planning provides the critical input you need to make corporate-level decisions wisely. It's totally future-oriented. This isn't a quick fix for a bad quarter, right? It's an overarching managerial process of defining a long-term vision and mapping out the very best resource allocations to actually get you there. Section 2, the Analytical Framework Toolkit. To actually build this strategy, management relies on this vital toolkit. Now, what's really fascinating here is the sheer variety of tools available. It proves there are multiple structured maps a company can use to assess their position. You've got SWOT, TONS analysis, the strategy diamond, the BCG matrix, and the balanced scorecard. These are the tools that complement the environmental scanning process, allowing leaders to slice and dice data in ways that reveal hidden strategic options. Take the balanced scorecard, for instance. It helps leaders evaluate different performance metrics systematically across 4 perspectives: financial, customer, internal process, and learning and growth. Or consider the 5C approach, which looks at the corporation, customers, competitors, collaborators, and climate. No matter which one you use, these frameworks all serve a common goal: organizing complex information so a company can find its perfect strategic fit. Section 3, Internal and External Scanning. Let's narrow our focus deeply into the absolute core of situation analysis, scanning the dual environments that dictate business survival. So the real kicker here is the sharp contrast. You absolutely must analyze the macro external forces outside of your control against the micro internal elements you actively manage. The external environment encompasses broad societal, economic, and technological forces. The internal environment? Well, that's your own firm. Your resources, your culture, and your capabilities. Let's break that down into something super practical. Internal elements include your processes, the people you've hired, your structure, and your corporate culture. External elements are your competitors, the overall economy, the climate, government regulations, and disruptive tech. Think about your own department for a second. Do you have the right people and processes internally to combat massive external shifts in technology or a sudden economic downturn? Section 4, Deep Dive into SWOT Analysis. The most universally recognized tool to bring these internal and external scans together is the SWOT analysis. When evaluating the internal environment, we pit our strengths directly against our weaknesses. Strengths are those intrinsic qualities, those core competencies that give you a competitive edge. What are you genuinely good at? Weaknesses, on the other hand, are internal deficiencies. Where are you lacking resources? You have to be ruthlessly honest with yourself here to identify exactly where you are vulnerable. Now flip it. Analyzing the external environment requires a totally different perspective. Opportunities are favorable external conditions, like a new trade agreement or an emerging market that allow for profitable growth. Threats are external conditions that risk your company's stability. The entire goal of SWOT is to match your internal strengths to those outside opportunities, while using those exact same strengths to build a firewall against emerging threats.
Section 5, implementing the strategy. Because, of course, doing the analysis is really only half the battle. Translating it into tangible action is where many companies stumble.
To avoid those implementation pitfalls, these 5 critical elements must be perfectly aligned to activate your strategic plan. People, resources, structure, systems, and culture. You need the right skills, the right funding, clear management, solid tracking, and a culture that actually supports the vision. The research puts it pretty bluntly. Even the best laid plans fall short if they're not put into practice properly. A brilliant situation analysis is completely useless if there's a lack of ownership, poor communication, or if leaders get way too bogged down in daily operational details to actually execute the vision. Section 6, Real-World Success with Walmart. Let's see how all of this builds into real-world proof by looking at Walmart's strategy during the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, talk about an external threat, right? When the pandemic hit, Walmart had to immediately assess a highly volatile external environment. By accurately reading the external threat of the virus, they strictly followed health guidelines to protect their stores. But simultaneously, they looked internally and proactively optimized their supply chain to meet unprecedented demand. They perfectly matched an external reality with an internal capability. And check out the result of that strategic alignment, because they strategically anticipated the massive shift in consumer behavior towards safe, contactless shopping. Walmart's grocery app saw a mind-blowing 460% growth in average daily downloads by April 2020. This right here visually proves the absolute power of situation analysis. By reacting to external macro trends with internal operational agility, Walmart didn't just survive the chaos, they thrived. This led to a 6% sales bump and a massive 26.8% jump in operating income. They used their internal strengths to totally capitalize on a shifting external landscape. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this thought. Whether you're running a massive global corporation or just managing your own career path, how will you use these analytical frameworks to navigate your own unpredictable chaos tomorrow morning? Take a hard look at your internal strengths, scan the horizon for external opportunities, and start matching them up.